The opinions expressed are those of the program host and guest and are not those of WSTU. WSTU does not endorse products that may be mentioned. Any reproduction or retransmission of this broadcast is strictly prohibited without written consent of WSTU. The phone lines are open. Call in with your questions and comments at 220-9788. That's 220-WSTU. It's time for Stuart Laser Talk with your host, Dr. Tred J. Rosacker.
I'm 5'10" and 242 pounds.
I always say this is the biggest I'm ever going to be, and I said that like 20 pounds ago.
A third of Americans are obese, another third is overweight.
Obesity is the biggest threat to the health, welfare, and future of this country.
I've always been overweight.
I've got diabetes,
Sleep apnea,
Heart disease.
everything's hurting now.
It's a lot easier to lose weight than it is to keep weight off.
This is probably going to be the first generation of children who are going to have a shorter life expectancy than their parents.
18% of our children right now are obese.
It's not only health, it's about survival and well-being of the United States as a nation.
You don't crave broccoli, and our generation has grown up craving a Big Mac.
I want to think that there's something better for me.
Unless we're able to control this epidemic, we're going to have an abundance of chronic disease.
All of us have to be part of the solution to reduce obesity.
The weight of the nation is out of control, but we can fix that.
If we don't now take this as a really urgent national priority, we are all going to pay a really serious price.
Obesity will crush the United States in oblivion.
Good morning. My name is Dr. Tred Rosacker, and I want to thank you for tuning in for the next hour, hopefully, of my Slim Body Laser Spa's health and wellness show. I'm probably going on 8 years, I think, this year of continual 1 hour programming, 8 years in a row. And I want to thank all the audience and the people that tune in regularly to listen to it. It really, really makes my day.
Got to get the camera going.
And with that said, hi, everybody. My name is Dr. Rosacker, and I'm really glad that you're still here. I'm going to go over some groundbreaking information today, which I truly, truly believe is probably the number one source of why we're sick, why we're going to the doctors, why we have high blood sugar, high cholesterol, high low serotonin, all the different issues that come with being sick today. And it's pretty well known, these symptoms. Yet what's happening is medicine isn't really addressing the cause. They're only treating the symptomatology. Okay, they're treating the what they see on the exam, the one little part of our whole person. And these different symptoms that you call symptoms, your high blood pressure, your increased blood glucose, which would be secondary to diabetes, increased blood lipid levels, increased clotting factors, decreased memory, confusion, of inability to concentrate, sensitivity of sensory, hypersensitivity to pain and stress. These are all based on the stress response. And as a doctor of chiropractic and the owner of the Slim Body Laser Spa, I think it's imperative that every now and then we jump a little off script to go into what I have learned over many, many years is probably the number one source of why we're sick and why people go to the doctor. And once you understand that, you can bring in tools and steps to counteract this stress, the stress response. So today's is going to be about stress. Now, of course, if you've got some belly fat you want to get rid of, if you're a regular listener, you know exactly who you are. I also want to give a shout out to a couple that came in and been listening to me on the radio for a very long time in Port St. Lucie. They're from Jamaica, and they came here many, many, many years ago. And they're a wonderful couple, and I wanted to shout out and say hello. I don't really want to give you their name, but they signed up last week, and they're beginning their first treatment today, which is Tuesday. And I'm real excited. I want to welcome them both to the Slim Body Laser Spa. And the program is a 4-week program. It includes laser assisted weight loss. So we're using a laser to assist with weight loss. At the same time, a complete nutritional profile, a program of nutrition, wellness, whole body vibration, which is an exercise program we do in the office, along with detoxification, and then follow up with pictures and measurements. And we can really make some serious changes in somebody's overall health and wellness in only 4 weeks. And they'd been listening to the radio for a long time. And finally, her husband was like, we're calling. And they showed up Thursday, and we booked them, and they're starting today. So I want to welcome them and let them know that we are definitely going to work hard to get you the results that I know that you can achieve. It's not, I don't do the healing. I just remove the barriers as to why you're not healing. I give you the information so you can instill better choices and make better decisions as you go through your day. And for that reason, people get better, and they can heal, and they can feel better. So with that said, one of the most important features of what I do, I don't want to say important feature, but the one part which is really huge is when people call up and share their story with me about the results at the laser spa. So I've got a guy that's calling who I knew he was going to call. We had scheduled it last week, and I know he's a busy guy, so I don't want to put him on hold for too long. So with that said, I would like to introduce Tim. Are you there, Tim?
Good morning, Dr. Tread.
Hey, my friend. How are you?
Doing well.
Thank you for calling. So what's going on, Tim? Don't be nervous. You're only on the radio, and 4,000 to 15,000 people are probably listening, but they don't pay much attention. They listen as they drive, I'm only kidding. Tell me what's going on.
Yeah, no, it's a beautiful day. Just left the spa and making progress here.
Okay. Tell us a little bit about yourself without being too personal, your age, what you struggled with, why you think that this might have been something that could help you.
Yeah, so I'm in my 40s. Pretty active guy. Got kids, and I'm in sales, so I'm on the road a lot. So being on the road introduces a lot of vices, right? Fast food, not eating, overeating, those types of things. So a lot of hills and valleys, and so I just wanted to lose some belly fat and get back to an optimal weight for my height and my lifestyle, and that's about it. And
have you succeeded for the most part in that?
Yeah. So in the first 3 weeks, using the lipo laser, I lost 5.5 inches around my midsection, and to date, because it's been more than 3 weeks, I've lost about 15 pounds.
Wow. That's great. That's huge. And I mean, you knew you could have lost weight and done this on your own, hopefully, maybe. But what's nice about the spa is you kind of have almost like an insurance policy that you'll have a better chance of being successful because there's guidance and there's a program. So that's definitely true, right? And you're a busy guy, so you're only coming in the morning. You devote a half hour to 40 minutes to the process 3 times a week, and you lost 5 inches and since then 15 pounds, correct?
Yeah. So
nothing else has really changed, right? You're not going to the gym. You haven't joined Hard Exercise Works, nothing like that.
Nope, just following the process, right? So doing all the things that you and your staff have recommended, and sticking to the script, and now it's part of my lifestyle.
That's right. That's great. All right. Fantastic. Did you like the whole body vibration plate? The process that shakes the fat around?
Yeah. It's fun. You can sit there and do your 2 10-minute sessions for 20 minutes, and either watch what's on the screen there, some of the DVDs you have playing in circulation, which are somewhat educational, or talking to the other clients in your office.
Yeah, it's great. Sounds good. All right, Tim. Thank you, sir. I appreciate the time out of your busy day to let people know that you had a good experience at the spa.
No, thank you. Thank you for changing my life, Dr. Trey. Appreciate it.
Oh, that's big, man. I don't know if I take that, but I agree. Maybe your wife changed your life, Tim. Let's be realistic. Your kids
Yeah,
are going to
well,
do. Your kids are going to do even better at that.
Yeah, changing the family tree, right?
All right. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Have a great day.
All right. Port St. Lucie guy sails, gets in his car, leaves at like daybreak, and he's out on the road. He's meeting with big corporations, and he does software, some kind of software programming or something. I don't know exactly. Don't go into people's personal stuff too much, but in his 40s, likes it, spends a lot of time with his kids. He's got young kids, so he's out exercising, but couldn't change that belly, that belly fat, that stubborn. And he was looking for an easier, softer way than having to commit to hours and hours of exercise and super perfect food. The laser gives you a certain amount of ease. It's just because it's a program. The laser works regardless of if you believe in it or not. It's a laser. It doesn't care that you even understand it. You lay on your back. It's applied by me and my staff, and you lose inches regardless if you believe it or not. And then after 3 times a week for 3 weeks, we include a nutritional and a wellness program with it, which is no extra charge. You pay for the laser, you get the nutritional help at no charge. And it's pretty darn successful. What can I say? If you're interested, give us a call, slimbodylaserspa.com. Not going to give my phone number because people don't use the phone anymore, except the text. So you can put drtred.com say it into your Siri phone, and you will get a hold of me. So we're located on East Ocean Boulevard, down the street from the Fresh Market, right across the street on the way out to the oceans. We do have times available every single day for consultations, and most people can begin their laser lipo plan sometimes the same day, but within that week, we do have openings set up for new clients to get their first measurements and begin the program. We encourage couples to do it together. You get better results when you have somebody supporting you and working for the same goal, instead of, it's like trying to stop smoking. If your spouse continues to smoke all around you, it's pretty hard to stop smoking. And the same thing goes with making habits with food and exercise and better choices. It's much easier if you've got some help with somebody else there in your life. All right, you guys, I'm excited about explaining this to you, teaching you something. My belief is that the Latin root of doctor is teacher, not drug pusher, not crisis management person, not the person who heals the body. It's not what the definition of a doctor is. A doctor is an educator to teach you how to get better. And of course, to intervene when things have gotten out of control and you really do need help. A doctor would be a good start with that. Now, I am here because as a chiropractor, I went to college and graduated with a very deep understanding about the nervous system, about your brain and your spinal cord and all the nerves that run and control your body. And part of what they taught us in chiropractic college was that your nervous system, which consists of your central nervous system, your brain stem, your spinal cord, and all of the peripheral nerves that control and coordinate your body. And then all this information comes from the periphery, from the environment. It goes back into the nerve system. Then it goes up to your brain, and your body interprets these situations and then adapts and makes changes necessary to keep you alive. That's the mandate. Your body wants you to stay on the planet as long as you possibly can. And it's always striving for that. It is an automatic, we call it an autonomic response. So the difference between an autonomic response and a response that you control is a very great example. And that would have to do with eating. You choose the food you eat. That's your choice. You have control of that. Once you chew it and swallow it, it's now automatic. It's an autonomic response. The taking of that food and then breaking it up in the stomach and then pulling the nutrients out and breaking down those chemicals so you get nutrition from it. And that's an autonomic response, which you really have very little control over. You can disrupt it through stress and fear and, other stupid things that people do. But for the most part, it's pretty God-given, this ability to, once you chew it and swallow it. And there's a lot of your body responses, a lot of your bodily systems are controlled through the autonomic nervous system, such as your heart rate, your respiration, your ability to breathe, how much blood volume you have in your digestive organs versus the skeletal muscles. That volumetric control is controlled by your nervous system. If you need blood to exercise or to fight, you're going to increase the pressure. Blood's going to be forced to the skeletal muscles by closing off the digestive organs. And that forces the blood to the extremities. And then you have the blood and the energy to swim or to fight. When you eat food and you're digesting food, you have a big meal, the autonomic nervous system prioritizes blood flow to the gut, to your organs of digestion, and it restricts the blood flow to your muscles. And this is why they teach you, don't ever swim on a full stomach. Have you ever heard that?
Yeah, you can't swim for 30 minutes.
You know why?
Because you're going to get a cramp and drown.
And you know why you get a cramp?
Why do you get a cramp?
Because all the blood is in your gut digesting the food, not in your muscles. And that's done by the autonomic nervous system. It shunts blood back and forth as it needs to. It's autonomic. It's automatic. You can't really control it. Some other things with the autonomic nervous system is your ability to go to sleep, to wake up. When you see something that gives you pleasure, like a beautiful sunset or a sunrise, and you experience it, your brain generates chemical messengers called peptides. These are proteins. And these proteins go through your body and they stimulate the feeling of wellness, that tingling, that sensation that lowers your blood pressure and raises serotonin, increases endorphins. It lowers blood glucose. It drops your blood pressure a little bit. And you feel, I feel better. I feel relaxed. I don't know. There's something about a sunset that makes me feel that way. Could also be a kitten, watching kittens on the internet. I come home, I'm like, my wife, I'm like, are you watching the cats again on the internet? And she just smiles at me. I like watching the kitties. She says they're cute, and I feel better when I watch. This is the autonomic nervous system producing these messages based on your stimulus. It's all done automatically for you. But you do have the control as to what you're going to look at, just like you have control over what you put in your mouth when you eat food. You could eat food that's nutritious and has the right nutrients in it and has lots of energy and life in it, and your body's going to take that food and utilize it at its best. It does not make any mistakes once you chew it and swallow it. It's all God-driven at that point. Or you could put in poisonous material, things that have no nutritional value, things which are soaked in chemicals, things which you wouldn't even grow, stuff that would take the paint off a car if you poured it on it. Yet we eat that and hope that the body can turn that into better health, new tissue, hair, nails, brain tissue, bones, eating basically poison. I mean, and of course, one of the things that leaps out of my mind is Coca-Cola soda. It has high acid. You pour a Pepsi on the hood of your new BMW and leave it out there for a day or so. I promise you, it's going to stain that paint job. It's going to cause it to not be a good thing. Yet we have no problem drinking that and thinking in some way it gives us health. Well, we know it doesn't give us health. It gives us a pop, a little boost, a little sugar boost, and a little snap. And they design it that way. So, you ultimately have control of your environment for the most part. For most of us here, we can move away from bad situations. We can choose to listen to music which is uplifting and gives you a message of hope, or we can listen to music which is downtrodden and hateful. about police brutality and it's incredible how music can be linked to very, very good, wonderful feelings. But at the same time, it's like, hey, I'm talking about my life in the hood and how horrible it is and how little opportunities I have. And I mean, it might be helping that person get it off his chest, but the 100%, 90% of the people listening, they start saying, gee, that's me. I identify with that, and I beg to differ. If you live in West Palm Beach, you're probably not identifying with a guy that lives in Harlem, even if you think you are. And those images, that choice to look at that, to have that in your life creates situations in your body automatically that occur as a result of those kinds of things. Hate, anger, fear, jealousy, envy, criticism, worry, vanity, greed, hypocrisy, being prejudiced, hate. Hate is like the ultimate, highest, baddest emotion you can have is hate. I mean, hate, and the opposite of hate is the strongest emotion you could possibly have, and that would be love. So my goal here today is to go over what the major killers in our society are. And I want you to know that it has to do with stress. And stress, by definition, is a challenge or a situation in which we're concerned about something. Of course, there's different definitions of stress, but in our relationship here, it's really about a situation which is either creating a safety issue for us, where we think we might be in danger. It could be, and that could be with somebody taking your money, right? Money's pretty important. It could be not having enough of it all the time. Right? That's a problem. It could also be that in some way you have done something to other people in your life that have made them bitter and resentful. And as a result of it, they have acted out against you by saying things about you, acting in unfriendly ways. And basically, you might call it disrespect. They're disrespecting me. You hear that a lot from kids, but it's really something that normally was brought on by your own actions and how we fit into society and how people view us and is very, very important to our psyche and our mentality. And when you feel like you don't fit in and you feel like you're an outcast for some reason, that's stress. That's a huge amount of stress. The other part which creates a lot of stress with us is anytime somebody messes with someone that we love, a relationship, because we oftentimes our relationships serve us. They serve us with, either sexual support or financial support or, feeling good about the fact that you're in a relationship and people see that as a benefit. And when anything interferes with that, you get stressed. I mean, you will draw the line. And, so it could also be fear of being, destroyed, being, having your life changed through a nuclear bomb, a war that's happening, the things that you hold dear to you, how you make your money, how you take care of your family, how you relate to others is being changed through political decisions where, your job situation has changed because the politics changed and you've lost that business model or whatever. That's a lot of stress. So the major killers in our society are heart disease, stroke, cancer, diabetes, and here's another one, and the drugs prescribed to treat these diseases. There is much of a risk as the heart disease, the stroke, the cancer, the diabetes. The drugs they use to treat these diseases can be just as much of a killer as the disease itself, and they've proven that. So what are the major chronic problems that people suffer with? The first one would definitely be depression. Number two, obesity. And these are not in order. Depression, obesity, anxiety, fatigue, chronic pain, osteoporosis, which is bone weakening, fibromyalgia, which is a general stiffening of all of your muscles, lack of sleep, they're sleep deprived. We suffer with decreased sexual drive, decreased fertility, inability to become pregnant, constant indigestion, accelerated aging, and ADHD, attention deficit hyperactive disorder. These are the people that just can't focus on anything. And you see them out in the world. And I would like you to know that these are all virtually preventable diseases. Depression, obesity, anxiety, fatigue, chronic pain, osteoporosis, fibromyalgia, lack of sleep, decreased sex drive, decreased fertility, indigestion, accelerated aging. These are preventable diseases. You can do something about this. Many cancer journals even admit that virtually all cancers are preventable or lifestyle and immune function related. Guess what? You created it somehow. How'd you like that? I mean, we have no problem saying I created all the wonderful things in my life. I created this job. I created a family. I created this beautiful Model T car that I worked on, but get cancer. I didn't create that, right? You kidding me? I don't want that, but somehow you created it because you're not following the laws of life. Maybe you're putting in the wrong foods every single day. Like I told you in the beginning, that'll definitely create toxin and poison. And then the body forms cancer cells to try to save itself. So these are all diseases of lifestyle and stress. So if we look at the physiological changes that happen with stress, like increased heart rate and blood pressure and vasoconstriction, increased fatty acids and increased glucose, increasing the clotting factors, and ask yourself if this isn't heart disease and stroke waiting to happen, right? How would you like to walk around all day with your heart pumping hard, man? Blood pressure's elevated. Your vessels are closed off. They're constricted. You have increased fatty acids. Your body is full of body fat, and your high glucose and clotting factors are increased. This is a heart disease and stroke. What about decreased serotonin levels and increased adrenaline, which is fight or flight? This produces depression, fatigue, anxiety, memory issues, learning and attention deficits, decreased sex drive, and accelerated aging. What about insulin receptor resistance and increased blood glucose and blood lipids, leading to obesity and type 2 diabetes? What about the chronically suppressed immune function and bone density that decreases associated with increased cortisol levels? Now, cortisol is a stress hormone produced when a person's under a lot of stress. And cortisol is what activates all of these other things, these symptoms. Virtually every major health issue in our society is addressed here. One of the doctors referred to these problems as diseases of adaptation, and he was exactly right. The problem is that medicine and the pharmaceutical companies they are in bed with refuse to listen. So, what are the medical solutions to any of these problems? Right? Drugs? Surgery? Seems to be the common thread. I mean, heck, it's paid by my insurance. It must be okay. I have a sign in my office, had it for years. It says, just because your insurance pays for it doesn't mean it's a good idea. Okay? So they're not the arbiters of the best possible treatment out there because your insurance pays for it. In fact, it's pretty much the opposite. You know, they're in cahoots, not cahoots, but they're controlled by the pharmaceutical industry and the politicians that are put into these positions by these pharmaceutical interests, these big lobby groups that pay to make sure that their drugs are paid for and their procedures are the first choice that you have when you're sick, because everything is controlled by who pays for it. And they would rather give you pills and medicine and drugs that have a profit than to teach you how to eat better and how to live longer and how to avoid these problems over the long run. But I know I'm talking to the choir here because we all know that. So the only solutions that are being given to us are drugs and surgery. And what's worse is people are brainwashed into believing that other solutions are unscientific and won't work. How about that? Of course, they don't study the physiology of a healthy body. They study pathology, or they study disease. Since these diseases, these are not diseases, these symptoms, this high blood pressure, the high blood sugar, the increased blood glucose, these are not diseases. These are adaptations to a stressful environment necessary for you to survive. So why am I telling you this? Let's look at what happens when your physiology is ignored and incompatible care is given. Okay, so your physiology is ignored, the fact that you have high blood pressure, and then they give you a drug to lower blood pressure without really giving you the solution as to why you have high blood pressure. So medicine takes your blood pressure reading, and if it's high, prescribes a drug to lower it because they see high blood pressure as a disease or pathology rather than what it really is, which is an innately intelligent adaptation to stress. The drug lowers the blood pressure by shutting down the normal physiological pathways. And the medical doctor and the patient mistakenly feel like the treatment has resulted in increased health. Remember that the reason your innate intelligence appropriately elevated your blood pressure was to deal with increased energy demands of a stressful environment. It was an intelligent adaptation to stress. When the doctor artificially lowered your blood pressure with chemical toxins that shut down proper cell function, and your innate intelligence recognizes that blood pressure is inappropriately low given the demands from your stressful environment, the body will respond by releasing more stress hormones in order to try and re-elevate the blood pressure to where it should be based on the demand of the stress. So what happens is blood pressure medications stop working. It does artificially come down for a little while, but then the patient becomes sicker from other situations that develop from the chronically increased stress hormone levels that have never been addressed. And worse, now they're even more. Now you got another problem. The pressure, the body's mandate is to make sure that all the blood circulates every single minute. So for that reason, every single minute, the body has to get the blood through. And when it can't, it raises the pressure to do that. And then we lower it, and that's just not a good thing. So we're going to take a quick break, and I'm going to be right back. I got to turn my camera back on.
All right, we'll be back in 2 minutes.
God bless. Be right back.
Now back to Stuart Laser Talk here on WSTU 1450. And back to your host, Dr. Tread J. Rizacker.
We're back. All right. So we're going over the stress response and how the stress response creates these different symptoms that we experience, such as high blood pressure, high cholesterol, fatigue, anxiety, confusion, all of the feelings of stress, increased adrenaline. And these are there's like 18 different symptoms that happen when you're under stress. And the best way to describe this would be if you were at a water hole and this tiger showed up, right? You're caveman, right? And you decide to go to the water hole to get some water, and a saber-toothed tiger shows up, roars, and eats your buddy right next to you. Oh my God. You're going to stress. You're going to have your heart rate's going to go up because you need the blood to get you through this fight. Your veins are going to constrict. You're going to have vasoconstriction in your gut. Basically, your digestive system's going to stop working because you don't need to digest the meal you just ate. You need to get out of that situation. So you're going to need blood's got to go to your arms and legs. So that means your blood pressure is going to go up. You also have increased blood glucose when you're ready to fight the tiger, and you need that energy to make the muscles work. You don't want to run out of glucose in the middle of a battle. So glucose becomes very high, and that means you end up with glucose intolerance, insulin resistance for that short time that you're fighting. It also increases blood lipid levels, cholesterol levels go up, and you have something called increased clotting factors. Your blood actually thickens when you have to fight because you might have a cut. You might get stabbed, scraped, and you need good, quick clotting factor to stop the bleed. So this thickens your blood. You also start to decrease protein degradation of muscle and connective tissue. When you're fighting the tiger, your body is going to utilize the energy stored in your muscles and connective tissue to battle this tiger. You have increased feelings of stress, fear, and anxiety. Decreased short memory. Your short memory goes out the window. You can't remember what you had for breakfast, what you're going to have for dinner. You can't concentrate, and you cannot learn new material when you are fighting the tiger. It's not the time to do algebra, people. This is the time to get the hell out. Okay. Decreased short-term memory. Also decreased your serotonin goes down to the basement. And you increase adrenaline, which is your life-saving, when you almost have a heart attack, they pump you with adrenaline. Decreased cellular immunity. Here's another one. You get increased sensitivity from the sensory symptoms. And that means including pain. So your hearing becomes more acute. Your ability to smell becomes more acute, and touch becomes super sensitive. And that's because you need to know if you got hurt. You need to know. Also, decreased anabolic hormones. Decreased anabolic hormones like growth hormone and testosterone and LH, luteinizing hormone. And this is what is happening to people over 50 and 60 today. Their testosterone has dropped down so much in men, and women have had such changes in estrogen levels that they're becoming, it's called anti-aging. This is what all the hormone replacement people are treating, the testosterone replacements, the gluten-free diets. This is all dealing with these decreased anabolic hormones, which is from the fight, the stress. You get bone loss and muscle fiber type changes when you're in stress. Now, here's a fact, okay? Everybody has this ability to behave, to do like this. This is given to us by our Creator to get you out of that watering hole where that tiger is eating things, right? And you run the hell out of there, you fight, you climb a tree, you do whatever it is to get away from it. Now, if you were just an animal, a deer running from the coyote, she has the same stress response that you have. She has increased heart rate, increased sensitivity to pain, decreased serotonin, increased blood fat. Everything that I just listed, the deer has the same reaction. All mammals do. when they're being challenged to fight or to flight, to run or fight. But as soon as the stress is over for the deer, as soon as she outruns the coyote, 10 minutes later, her head's down and she's eating again. She can't remember what happened. She can't relive it the day that the coyote chased her. But humans are given this ability to remember and to create scenarios in their mind which are just as real as what happened. So that fight, that tiger fight that happened at the watering hole, 6 months later, that human can remember that and say, do you remember at the watering hole the day that that tiger ate my buddy Erg? Oh my God, I was so stressed. My God, I pooped myself as soon as it happened. Scared the poop out of me. You heard this term, you emptied your bowels. I couldn't eat anything for 2 days after that. I was confused. I ended up going to the wrong cave. You know that? I was so confused. And as he's talking about it, his pressure's going up again. He can't eat his food now. He has a terrible night sleeping on the cave floor that night because he remembered when that tiger come in, and then one of his friends was teasing him and made the sound of a tiger from a distance, and he freaked out because we can act like it happens again and again and again and again until it becomes a mood. And once it's a mood, what's wrong with him? I don't know. He seems to be in some kind of mood. Can I ask you what's wrong? Oh, I never thought you'd ask. 6 months ago, this happened to me, and I'm still living in the refractory period of that event. I got run into by a car or somebody robbed us. Who knows? Happens all the time. But the difference is humans carry it around. If you keep it more than a year or 2 years, it becomes almost a character defect. What's wrong with him? He seems to be always angry. Well, 3 years ago, this event happened to me, and I'm still living in the memory of that, and it's creating all these symptomatology in our body. What's wrong with him? He seems to have a personality disorder. What's wrong with you? Did you see the news? I can't believe what's happening. I can't believe what's going on. It was never like that when I was young. I watch it every day. I go to sleep and I watch it. And my stomach is tight. You get where I'm getting with this, people? Stress is something which is very important to have stress for a short term. What's not okay is being under stress all the time. Chronic stress leads to sickness. It leads to disease processes. It leads to all kinds of symptoms that, you're out of balance, and it just gets worse and worse and worse. So with that said, it's really important I'm going to explain to you a couple of parts about stress so if you're under stress. Okay? And this is so true when I read this. Bear with me 1 second here. So here it is. Here's an example. By living the emotions that are derived from past experiences, which means you're reliving the incident, the injury that happened, the car accident, the deer that chased, the coyote that chased you, and you're living in those emotions, and these are familiar emotions because, gosh darn it, it was a bad experience that happened to me. It was terrible, and I want to make sure that it doesn't happen to you. And I'm living in this experience. And this means nothing new is really happening. Your body, as the unconscious mind, is living the same feelings, and it believes it's in the same experience 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. And the body has become the mind, then the body is literally living in the past. And you cannot create a new future holding on to the emotions of the past. So these people, the ones who overcome their emotional pain and chronic health problems, begin to realize that no one or anything was worth it, and the hormones of stress can endorse us to become selfish. Who do you know in your life that is selfish? Are you selfish? Are other people selfish? Well, when someone is extra selfish, it's a huge sign that they're under chronic stress. Now, why do I say that? This is because when an animal is threatened by something from its external environment, then the job of that organism is in emergency or survival mode. And the number one most important thing that that animal realizes is he has to take care of itself. And we identify ourself as a body in the environment and in time. So let me give you an example. When the zebra is being chased by the lion, the only thing she's concerned about are three things. Number one, her body. Like, I better take care of it and put my attention on it now. Number two, the environment. Where am I going to run to? And how much time do I have to get there? Okay. So when you and I live by the cocktail of those stress hormones, we become obsessive about our bodies. And that would be our hair, our hairstyle, our face, our weight, our problems. Also, things in our environment, things we have, things we want, things we don't want to feel better. And we start to obsess about time. We don't have enough time. I'm short on time. Life is flying past. I'm getting old. Now, how many of you out there hear this all the time, every day? Ah, did you see what day today is? Oh my God, it's happening so fast. My life is just, it seems like it's running through. It's getting faster and faster. Life is so much shorter now. Have you ever heard that? Am I the only one that's heard people say that?
Life is shorter now?
Well, it seems like it's going so fast. It's already November.
Oh, yeah.
I remember when it was the summer.
Absolutely.
How is this happening so fast? When's Christmas? That's right down. In other words, they're concerned about time. It's happening too fast. That is stress. Okay. How about the other one? I'm really concerned about my look, my hair, my face, my body, how fat I am, the shape of my toe, my knee. It's an ugly knee. You start worrying. You obsess over your body because you're under stress and you're concerned about your body. The hormones of stress cause you to believe that the outer world is more real than the inner world. And those hormones make us feel separate from possibility. Because when you're chased by a lion, people, it's not time to create. It's not time to trust. It's not time to learn. It's not time to build relationships. It's time for emergency. Okay? So the majority of you out there in the Western world spend the majority of your time preparing yourself for the worst case scenario, protecting themselves from it. They're basically trying to predict the future from the past. And you know what they say when we get it right? You know what they say? You need to hang out with me. See how smart I am? I told you this was going to happen. Right? How many times have you heard that? And what happens when it doesn't happen? When his prediction of Armageddon or the apocalypse doesn't happen, and nothing happens. And then it's called anxiety. It's called a neurosis. It's called insomnia. So when we live by the hormones of stress and we define our reality by what we see, our senses, we become materialistic people. We become materialists. We're no longer God-driven. We're no longer God-based. We care about our body, our money, our food, our time, our environment, because we feel separate from the possibility, and all of our attention goes on our body, the environment, and time. There's another way to say this from a quantum perspective, is the atom is 99.999% energy, and we're putting all of our attention on the particle, and we're missing out on the possibility. So people who have healed themselves from chronic illness and sickness and disease through thinking differently finally hit a point of crisis where they finally started taking attention off of their outer world and started to ask themselves some bigger questions. This is healing, people. Let me repeat that. So people who healed themselves, which we all have the ability to do, hit a point of crisis where they finally started taking attention off of the outer world, off of the people, places, things, times, environment, my husband, that bum kids I have, the fact that I was poisoned under this situation, my job, and started to ask themselves some bigger questions. Who am I? What is a greater expression of myself? What's a greater expression? And here's another one. What would I have to change to be happy? Who in history do I admire or do I want to be like? And then they begin to contemplate and speculate and rehearse who they really are going to be if they got better. Where would you be if you got better? What would you do? I was going over anyway. And the mere process of thinking about who they're going to be began to change their brain. And when you marry a clear intention, which is a clear idea, with a thoughtful process, with an elevated emotion, then it's a heartfelt process. And you move into a new state of being. And as they begin to remind themselves every single day of who they no longer want to be, and they remind themselves every day who they want to be, you begin to cause your brain to fire in new sequences and new patterns and new combinations. And whenever you make your brain work differently, you are changing your mind, because according to neuroscience, the mind is the brain in action and the mind is the brain at work. So they reminded themselves every day of who they want to be, and they begin to fire and wire new circuits in their brain and the very platform and foundation of who they're going to become. It's at that point they said, I am not getting up from this meditation until I feel like that person, or I'm not going to give up eating this better diet until I feel and look like that person. I am not going to give up exercising until I see the results and I feel like that what I want to do. And that is closed. It's solidified by gratitude. The emotional signature of gratitude means the event has already happened. And now that they're giving their body a taste of the present moment every day, they do it over and over again. So it's gratitude, people. Have gratitude. We love gratitude. Grateful for my house, grateful for my family, grateful for the pillow, grateful for air conditioning, grateful for a safe house we live in. Try that. Try to do a list of 20 gratitudes and tell me how you feel at the end of the day. Hey, I got to go. Lots of stuff to go over here. I love and appreciate you so much. See you next week.